A young woman becomes obsessed with the seemingly perfect couple living across the street. Every night, she watches their relationship unfold through a pair of binoculars, convinced she's uncovering secrets they desperately want to hide. But as the obsession grows, people start getting hurt. Hi everyone, this is Movie Tales, your fast-track pass to the best stories in cinema. Today's story, The Voyeurs. Enjoy watching. Pippa and Thomas move into their first apartment together in Montreal. On their first night, a bright flash from across the street catches their attention. Looking through the window, they realize they can see directly into the apartment opposite theirs. Inside, a photographer is taking pictures of a woman. The couple watches out of curiosity, but the photo shoot soon becomes intimate. After joking about whether the neighbors know they're visible to everyone around them, Pippa and Thomas head to bed. The next day, Pippa tells her friend Ari about the attractive couple living across the street. Later, at work, she receives a bird feeder as a housewarming gift from her supervisor at l'Optique, where she works as a trainee optometrist. That evening, she installs the feeder outside the apartment window. While relaxing at home, she and Thomas notice the neighbors again and jokingly nickname them Brent and Margot. Suddenly, Brent begins choking while Margot remains in another room wearing headphones. Pippa and Thomas panic as they watch from across the street, unsure how to help. Before they can take action, Margot notices the situation and rushes to save him. Later that night, Pippa catches Brent staring back through the window, forcing her to back away. The next day, she buys a pair of binoculars. As the days pass, she and Thomas become increasingly invested in the lives of the couple across the street. Through the binoculars, they repeatedly catch Brent bringing other women home while Margot is away. After watching him sleep with one of the models, they realize he has been cheating on her all along. That same evening, Pippa and Thomas try to be intimate themselves, but Pippa keeps glancing toward the apartment across the street. Later, unable to sleep, she returns to the window and watches Margot come home. Completely unaware of Brent's behavior, Margot happily reunites with him, leaving Pippa wondering how long the secret can stay hidden. The more Pippa watches, the more invested she becomes. What started as harmless curiosity slowly turns into a nightly routine. Wanting to know even more, she asks Thomas if there's a way to hear their conversations. Thomas admits he once built a laser device capable of picking up sound from another room, but initially refuses to use it. After enough persuasion, he agrees, though they still need a reflective object inside the apartment. Their chance comes when Brent and Margot throw a Halloween party. Posing as guests, Pippa and Thomas slip inside the apartment they've spent weeks watching from afar. While Thomas blends into the crowd, Pippa secretly places a small mirror that will allow the listening device to work. Back home, the plan is a success. For the first time, they can hear what is happening across the street. During one conversation, Margot confronts Brent about constantly flirting with models and sleeping with other women. Brent denies everything, but the argument quickly turns ugly. He lashes out at her and even breaks her glasses. The following day, Margot unexpectedly walks into l'Optique. While helping her choose new frames, Pippa learns that her real name is Julia. The two get along surprisingly well, and Julia invites her to spend time together outside of work. Thomas grows increasingly uncomfortable with how involved Pippa has become, but she ignores his concerns. A few days later, Pippa meets Julia at a spa. During their conversation, Julia reveals that her husband is a successful photographer named Sebastian, or Seb. As Julia talks about their marriage and how much she loves him, Pippa finds it harder and harder to keep his affairs a secret. Later, she watches Seb bring yet another woman back to the apartment. This time, she decides Julia deserves to know the truth. Using the neighbor's wireless printer, Pippa anonymously sends Julia a message exposing Seb's infidelity and directing her to evidence hidden in the bathroom trash. Shortly afterward, Julia discovers the condom and realizes the message was telling the truth. That night, Pippa and Thomas listen as another heated argument breaks out between Julia and Seb. Once again, Julia accuses him of cheating, but Seb denies everything. Then, without warning, the apartment falls silent. The next morning, the curtains remain closed and the apartment stays eerily quiet. Hours later, Seb suddenly rushes into the bathroom. A moment later, he stumbles back in shock. Looking through the window, Pippa and Thomas realize something terrible has happened. Julia is lying on the bathroom floor surrounded by blood. Back in their apartment, Thomas blames Pippa for getting involved in the lives of strangers. He insists that none of this would have happened if they had simply minded their own business. The argument quickly escalates, and before long, Thomas packs his things and walks out. Now alone, Pippa continues watching the apartment across the street. The once lively home has become quiet, and Seb rarely leaves. Weeks later, unable to stop thinking about everything that happened, she follows him to a bar. Seb notices her almost immediately. Instead of acting surprised, he invites her to sit down. What begins as an awkward conversation gradually becomes more comfortable as the two get to know each other. As their conversation continues, Seb compliments Pippa's eyes and eventually invites her back to his apartment for a private photo shoot. For months, Pippa had watched this apartment from across the street. Now, for the first time, she is finally inside it. Seb leads her into the same studio where she had seen him photograph countless models through her binoculars. He asks her to step in front of the camera, and the photo shoot begins. At first, everything feels professional, but as the session continues, the atmosphere gradually changes. The conversation becomes more personal, the distance between them begins to disappear, and the chemistry that had been building for weeks becomes impossible to ignore. Before long, the two end up sleeping together. At the same time, Thomas returns to the apartment carrying flowers, hoping to reconcile with Pippa. Inside, he notices a drink left in the refrigerator. After taking a few sips, he pours the rest into the bird feeder outside the window. Moments later, movement across the street catches his attention. He picks up the binoculars and looks through them. What he sees stops him cold. Pippa and Seb are together. The following morning, Pippa returns home and discovers Thomas hanging from the ceiling. His apparent suicide leaves her devastated, and in the weeks that follow, she isolates herself from nearly everyone around her. Eventually, Ari convinces Pippa to attend a photography exhibition created by Seb. As she walks through the gallery, she notices photographs of apartments, windows, and people who appear unaware they are being photographed. Searching for answers, Pippa eventually finds Seb, but another shock is waiting for her. Standing beside him is Julia, alive and unharmed. They begin presenting their latest project. To Pippa's shock, the exhibition is about her and Thomas. Photographs of the couple fill the gallery, eating dinner, sleeping, arguing, and watching the neighbors across the street. Seb and Julia reveal that the exhibition is based on a real-life experiment, and that Pippa and Thomas were the subjects. They explain that they owned the apartment rented by the couple and had been documenting their growing obsession from the very beginning, including the Halloween party, the hidden mirror, and the listening device. As she looks around the gallery, Pippa realizes that while she believed she was observing strangers, she had actually been the one under observation the entire time. Unable to listen any longer, Pippa leaves the exhibition and heads straight to Seb and Julia's building. There, she discovers a hidden surveillance room packed with cameras, monitors, and recordings, documenting countless moments from her life with Thomas. Realizing the exhibition only revealed a fraction of what had been collected, she destroys the entire room before leaving. While moving out of the apartment, Pippa notices a strange residue inside the bird feeder. Looking down, she spots several dead birds beneath the building. The discovery immediately raises new questions about Thomas's death. For the first time, she begins to wonder whether his apparent suicide was really what it seemed. As Seb and Julia enjoy the success of their exhibition, they appear on television to defend their project. They insist that everything was done legally and dismiss the growing criticism surrounding the experiment. Later, the couple returns home to find a congratulatory bottle of wine waiting outside their door. After opening it, a message suddenly prints from their wireless printer. It claims that Thomas did not kill himself and that Seb is responsible for his death. Looking outside, Seb and Julia spot Pippa watching them from a nearby rooftop. They immediately chase after her, eventually cornering her inside l'optique. There, Pippa reveals what she believes really happened to Thomas. According to her, Julia tampered with his drink on the night she was with Seb, and the dead birds outside the apartment suggest that whatever was in it was toxic. Although she admits she has no proof, Pippa is convinced that Thomas never chose to take his own life. Seb and Julia dismiss the accusation, but moments later, Julia begins slurring her words and collapses. Soon, Seb starts feeling the same effects. Pippa then reveals that the bottle of wine waiting outside their apartment was from her, and that both of them have been drugged. Once they lose consciousness, Pippa finally takes her revenge. Using the eye surgery equipment at l'optique, she carries out a procedure on both Seb and Julia. Unable to fight back or escape, the couple is left completely at her mercy. Sometime later, a new couple moves into the apartment once shared by Pippa and Thomas. As they settle into their new home, something across the street catches their attention. Curious, they look inside. Sitting by the window are Seb and Julia. Only now is the outcome of Pippa's revenge revealed. Both of them are blind, completely unaware that they are being watched once again. Watching from a nearby rooftop, Pippa takes one final look through her binoculars before quietly walking away. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to see the latest videos first.